first quarter. Now we in the fourth quarter, man.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter show, the #1 home for the business of sports and entertainment. Siraj, today is a special edition of the fourth quarter.
Tell me why.
So for the very first time, for those of you that are watching on this other side of the screen, producer Pablo has cooked up his magic, and we have our first prediction markets exclusive partner, Novig. There we go.
Let's go.
Huge, honestly. Producer Pablo, we're going to need some claps from you yourself. But first time in our show, we were talking about it. We've put out, what, 18? This is our 18th episode?
18th episode.
And first partner across our show, which is pretty wild. So why did we choose Novig? Who is Novig? For those of you that don't know, Novig is the world's first and only sports-focused prediction markets. We actually, I don't know if you know this, but we featured, and I wrote about Novig in our third ever newsletter in our startup spotlight when they went through Y Combinator. And fast forward 2.5 years later, and they're a partner across our show.
I know, and they've blitzscaled since their founding and going through YC. I believe they raised over $100 million plus in capital now.
Yeah, they had a $19 million Series A, and then recently a $75 million Series B. So when we were thinking about, we talk about prediction markets naturally, right? Siraj's
Professor
alter ego
Paramanu
talks about, teaches AP prediction markets.
Not only an alter ego, but the one and only person who knows prediction markets through and through.
That's very true. And, we demystify this place. We don't come at it from a gambling lens or a pure adoption lens. We demystify the evolution and the tech and the legislation that happens in and around this space. And we wanted a partner that would scale with us as we grew ourselves and was intentional with where they place their brand. So you see some of these other platforms that, have taken a mass approach across partnership. And, I thought Novig was a great partner for us. Or we did. And that's why we ended up partnering with them. So what does this mean for us? Absolutely nothing is changing. There's no editing or bias towards how we cover prediction markets. If anything, Novig is going to help us power our production, our show to the next level. So we're super excited to have them on board. Thank you to the Novig team for putting their trust in us, and we're excited for all the future overlap.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Jacob, the CEO, Nikhil, who's working
SVP
with us.
Growth.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an awesome collaboration. There's so much demystification that needs to be done in the prediction market space. And I'm glad that Novig was the one to step up and partner up with us in our mission to do so.
Yo, I'm proud of you for locking in our first partner.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. I'm proud of the team, proud of you, proud of Pablo, proud of Ruben. We got our exclusive prediction market sponsor. I think there's more to come. This show is about to be big, baby. Let's go.
Let's get into it. So Fanatics Fest was this weekend. We'll touch on that later in the show. Third year, I worked the last two as an employee, and now I got to go as a fan. And it was awesome. We got approached a couple of different times. People coming up to us saying, "You're the fourth quarter guys. Love your newsletter. Love the show. Love the clips." It was honestly really cool to be in the sports ecosphere. What did you think?
I know it felt like I was like Logan Paul walking around there as a celebrity. No, I'm joking.
No.
There was like a few people who have been following along our journey since the very beginning, whether it was our first TikTok post or our first newsletter. A lot of the people that were coming up and saying hello were actually people working at Fanatics Fest, whether it was a partnership activation. Shout out to Sam. He came up to us. He was working at Tops. He's part of their social media team. He noticed us and he was saying what's up. And I feel like it's really cool to, get that recognition from the people that are actively trying to build in the sports space, whether they're a founder or they're building a team or they're part of a team of a major sports brand or a brand that's trying to work in sports. So it meant a lot that people were, showing us love for what we've built. That was actually my first Fanatics Fest. So
what did you think?
I thought it was amazing. I had a blast. Bought a bunch of.
It was clearly the best out of the three that I've been to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard like the first one was like kind of like rough on the edges. The second one was great, and then the third one just like blew everything out of the water.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it was the first time it was profitable. It's, there was $80 to $90 million in production value. You bought a couple of different things.
Yeah, so a few things. The one reason, I think the partnership activations was insane, right? You have Starbucks, Target, American Express,
Raising
obviously all the
Cane's,
sports teams as well, or sports
ESPN,
leagues.
NFL.
Yeah, exactly. It was literally like
Dick's.
it was the entire
Another one.
sports
I could have
cinematic.
kept going. Sorry.
It's the sports cinematic universe all in Javits Center here
Yeah.
in New York City. It was honestly mind blowing, and the fact that they got so many athletes, seeing Tom Brady, Djokovic, even Justin Bieber in the flesh was pretty
that was
sick.
cool. That was cool to see him. He
But-
won the Fanatics games.
Yeah, I know. Which I mean, he honestly seemed the most dialed in. Like he would actually like get prepped and ready to go.
He
got his
hit
yellow
this
hat on.
crazy one at the NFL, this crazy field goal at the NFL activation with Tom Brady and Djokovic both like missing the longest field goal, and Bieber hit it, and it was wild.
Yeah, that's actually sick. And honestly, you don't see Bieber making that many public appearances unless he's performing. So it was actually sick for him to show out like that. But I do think that Fanatics Fest is actually the gateway for young kids and even myself to get into the collecting space. That was the first time I actually ever bought trading cards. I bought these Topps trading cards,
Which we're gonna rip on the show later.
which we're gonna rip on the show. I bought some Pokemon cards, which, my older brother was a collector back in the day, but it kind of faded away. And I was like, you know what? Let's rip some packs. Me and Sid ended up buying a few. And then I bought these pretty cool shoes through the Foot Locker activation. I'll send a picture. We'll get Pablo to put a picture of it. But it's literally a game-worn Cade Cunningham jersey that's imprinted on the Nike swoosh of Air Forces. And
So-
they do it live for you as well.
Yeah, so this was an interesting Foot Locker activation. Without, we want to get into the show, but really quickly, we were just essentially the Foot Locker activation is they take game-worn jerseys of these athletes and they get to embed it into the Nike swoosh. And we're figuring out who we want because we were on one of the last days and there
Yeah.
wasn't too much available.
LeBron, KD, I think had sold out already.
Yeah, and then there was Cade Cunningham, and we were like, oh, Cade's going to, obviously up-and-coming rising star. And then you were like, well, Cade invests in sports.
Yeah, so he
right?
actually bought a minority stake in the Texas Rangers.
Yep.
And so we were like, okay, Cade is an active investor. At some point in time, we'll get him on the show. We got to get him to sign those shoes live.
So that was awesome. You need to bring him next time when we start building out the rest of our studio.
Yeah,
I
we
guess.
need a backdrop, I think. So
You're
we
gonna
can
have to
actually
put him up
place
there.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we're looking forward to the day till Cade comes on the show. But moving on and diving right in the world of and the topic of team ownership, this has to be the headline story. This is clearly the unanimous one for the last couple of days. But the biggest team sale in NFL history just happened. Vinod Khosla, the legendary Silicon Valley venture
A
capitalist,
legend.
just bought the Seattle Seahawks for $9.6 billion. So Vinod Khosla, for those of you that don't know, he made his original money through Sun Microsystems, which was one of the OG Silicon Valley companies that was creating PCs and software. And he later, became a prolific VC through his fund, Khosla Ventures. And he backed companies like OpenAI, DoorDash, Stripe, Instacart. So obviously this guy has a thing for finding, having the golden touch, right? The Midas touch. So why I think this is super interesting is he owned roughly 3% stake of the San Francisco 49ers before. And to own this majority share, he had to relinquish his stake in the 49ers. And the $9.6 billion valuation that he got from Paul Allen's estate, it was nearly 50% higher than what private valuation estimates were putting the Seahawks at, which was around $6.5
billion, yeah.
What do you think? Do you think this is a cool move? This is an interesting trend. We wrote about this a while ago, how Silicon Valley and
We wrote about
tech
this last
money,
week. Yeah. So
and before that too,
yeah.
specifically citing Khosla Ventures,
Yeah,
right?
so Khosla Ventures had actually been they had been investing in a lot of entertainment-based startups. So whether it was the gaming ecosystem or entertainment. A good example of these is Playback, where you were able to live stream and watch sports games with other people, and it was good for content creators who are actively trying to watch sports with their fans. And at the same time, things like I think Storycraft is another one that they've invested in. So we saw that Khosla Ventures was diversifying investing into gaming entertainment. What we never thought was going to happen was a guy like Vinod Khosla to step into the sports arena entirely. Yes, he had a 3% minority stake in the Niners, but dropping nearly $10 billion on a sports franchise. It's almost like what happened with Steve Ballmer when he bought the Clippers back.
Who was one of the OG Microsoft execs, right?
Exactly, yes. He was formerly the CEO of Microsoft right after Bill Gates, and he bought the Clippers for $2 billion. At the time, a lot of people thought he was overpaying for the asset. Now the Clippers are worth about $7.5 billion, so He's already, 3x, more than 3x his investment in the span of 10 years, 10, 11 years. So I think that this scenario, even though he's overpaying, one, it just goes to show the demand. I believe that the Middle family or the Mittal family, who had previously just bought an IPL franchise for about $2.5 billion, was also in the running to acquire the Seahawks. So look, you have to outbid, you got to pay a big price. And I think that $9.6 billion honestly makes sense for a massive franchise like the Seahawks and the fact that they just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because Seattle is a tech hub as itself, right? It has Microsoft, Amazon. It's, I don't know if a mini Silicon Valley, but it's a northern Silicon Valley in a sense too. So I thought it was a matter of time before there was more tech money and tech executives that were coming in to own these sports teams and buy up there's a Seattle NBA franchise that's coming. So we'll see if there's interest in the tech ecosphere that comes into that. So the ownership structure, so his wife, Neeru Khosla, is going to be the operating executive on this. So he will serve as the team's control owner. And then his son, Neil, who's the CEO of Curai, Curai, will also be heavily involved.
I think it's a healthcare startup, I could be wrong, but.
Cool. So it runs in the family, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But an interesting thing that I want to propose to you is, the top 5 NFL teams based off valuation. So the Dallas Cowboys, this is according to last year's Sportico valuation. So Dallas is sitting out, $12 billion valuation, the Dallas Cowboys. The LA Rams are a little over $10.4 billion. The New York Giants are $10.25 billion. And the next is the New England Patriots, around 8.8 billion. So this would have ranked around 4th, but this was also last year's rankings, which I think are a little outdated. I think a lot of these numbers are a little elevated. But what I think is super interesting is the tech world is having different will have different liquidity events, right? So SpaceX, as we saw, just went public at a $1 trillion valuation.
Yeah.
Anthropic filed to go public earlier last month, and they're looking at a $1 trillion. I mean, they're currently $965 billion valuation. OpenAI confidentially filed last year, but they pushed it to next year. Could these liquidity events for these early employees create a cascading effect of them to be, they have money and dry powder on the side and capital to invest in the sports ecosystem? Do you think this is a thing that'll happen from these early employees? No? I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I believe the SpaceX IPO actually minted 4,400 millionaires and over 400 centimillionaires. So anyone who has net worth of 100 million plus in SpaceX stock, that's more than 400 of them. That's a lot of wealth creation or value creation for these individuals who have been, working at SpaceX for a long time. And it's going to be the same for Anthropic and OpenAI. The question is how are they going to allocate their assets, right? Typically, a lot of them, they can go to the S&P, maybe they buy some luxury assets. At the exact same time, they could just reinvest all that money into the AI boom that's happening right now. But for any investor, diversification is key. And sports and entertainment has presented a unique value proposition as being an anti-AI or an AI hedge, because AI overall cannot replace what's going on the field and the entertainment and just the human component of sports overall. And look at, Vinod Khosla just bought the Seahawks. Look at Josh Kushner, who through Thrive Capital, he's been a prolific venture capital investor, has been allocating a lot of money into AI and frontier technologies in frontier technologies in AI and data infrastructure. He's now trying to buy the Las Vegas expansion team. At the exact same time, he's bought a minority stake in the SF Giants. So they're seeing a way to diversify into sports because they understand that sports and entertainment will continue to exist as an asset class, even if the AI boom eats up everything else from service to labor to, everything else, the jobs that it's stealing from. So ultimately, I think there will be a lot more tech money that's actually going into sports. So investment bankers, you guys should be dialed up, especially for these, new tech millionaires and 100 millionaires and even billionaires that are looking to move their assets. They're probably going to want to be part of funds that have exposure into sports. Maybe they want to do direct deals as well. I also think that if you're going to have an ownership position, like if Vinod Khosla being an owner of the Seahawks or maybe Josh Kushner for Vegas, this is a big deal for all the entrepreneurs that are building the sports tech space. They're going to be a lot more friendly to implementing AI. So if you're a sports tech startup, you should be super pumped about this, that Vinod Khosla was the one who bought the Seahawks. and you should hope that Josh Kushner is the one to acquire the Vegas franchise for the NBA.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's going to be more people that end up investing in sports as a byproduct of liquidity within some larger, gargantuan tech IPO events and liquidity events. Moving on to the transfer portal, which is our section on where the people within the business of sports are moving. Our first one, the headline, Fubo's board appointed Alyssa Bowen, the former CEO or the former president of Disney Plus, as the new CEO of Fubo. She is succeeding David Gandler, who we saw at Proskauer. He was very well spoken, and he seemed to be a great leader. David was the co-founder of Fubo, so this is the first time that we're seeing, the co-founder leaving within this company, within the CEO helm, and an external co-founder or external executive taking the reins. So Disney took 70% control of Fubo. So, they had board control, they had the kind of buy-in, so they're ready to move forward and kind of have their strategy. So excited to see what happens with Fubo, and, is this a potential acquisition? Do you think Disney might buy Fubo outright or no?
I think they already have a 70% control of Fubo.
They don't need more.
They already have.
They instilled their CEO now.
Yeah, I think they've instilled their CEO,
Okay.
and now Fubo is essentially an extension of Disney.
Okay.
And then David, he's such a passionate founder. I'm excited if he builds again. That'd be pretty cool.
And we got to have you on the show, both of you. And I know David's in New York, so I feel like it's a pretty easy or relatively accessible get.
Yeah.
As a guest.
We just got to throw that lot.
We got to throw that lot.
Yeah.
When we're ready, we'll reach out. All right, Paul Hastings, the law firm, right, announced the launch of a global sports practice and hired the former Ravens SVP and general counsel Brandon Etheridge as a partner in DC. Brandon also helped the Ravens finalize a $600 million partnership while he was at the NFL team with the state of Maryland in 2023. So he has a bunch of deal-making experience, and it makes a bunch of sense on why he started a law practice. Any thoughts?
They've made a huge publicity or push on this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I saw everywhere that Paul Hastings had just started a sports practice, and picking up Brandon is obviously going to be a huge help for them. I believe that he is one of the most connected people in the industry, and I think that's going to move mountains for them as they're trying to get deals. Look, sports law is a very competitive very competitive market. We talked about this. A lot of sports lawyers are getting poached from different law firms just because these contracts are getting as big as like NBA contracts, almost it seems like. But I do think that there's a lot of money to be made. So I'm excited that Paul Hastings is throwing their hat in the ring.
Yep. The NBA Board of Governors announced last week that in Vegas that Miami Heat Governor Mickey Arison was unanimously elected the chairman of the Board of Governors. He's succeeding Larry Tannenbaum, who has been running the helm of that position since September 2017. And Tannenbaum is now stepping down because Roger Communications, which we talked about last week, bought out his stake in the Toronto Raptors through the acquisition of MLSC. So it's interesting to see this. Arison also had a small stint as the Board of Governor chair. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited to see this. He has the experience in the space already. Moving on, the Minnesota United MLS team named Christina Hennington the CEO. So she spent more than 20 years at Target. Target is also based in Minnesota, Minneapolis area. So they took someone that they know and one of the hometown executives. So she served as the chief strategy officer and the chief growth officer. And now she's leading an MLS team. So I'm excited to see more integrations. Do you think we'll see a step up in MLS or Minnesota United merch maybe in the retail footprint?
Yeah, I think it's possible.
I think that makes a bunch of sense.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like what. I don't have any predictions, but I think that Christina's going to do a great job.
I agree. Well, shout out Christina. Moving on, Gucci Racing named Tancredi Vitale the vice president. So he's joining from Venezia FC, where he was the managing director. Sports exec coming into leading this new luxury sports front for Gucci. I think it makes a bunch of sense. Dallas Mavericks named Jennifer Ridgway the chief impact officer. She joins from the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx, and she's a seasoned exec that has held roles across relationship building within nonprofits, local governments, and civic leadership. So as Dallas is looking to create a new stadium and all these different things that will require government relationships, and local government relationships and citizen stuff. So I think this makes a bunch of sense. So excited to see what Jennifer does. And lastly, had to cap it off, Kevin Strada was promoted to the SVP and CFO of AMBSE, Arthur Blank Sports and Entertainment, based in Atlanta, Georgia, that owns the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United, among a couple other things. He spent 19 years as a controller and as a professional within the Atlanta Falcons finance department. So shout out to him. And he's also a Georgia Tech grad. So
shout out Georgia Tech.
Go Jackets.
Sid's alumni.
There we go. All right, moving on to this next section. This is a new section, cultural sports headline. But no, we're replacing it with a fun segment called the Pocket Watch, presented by Bezel. So our friends at Bezel, we created a cool segment using some of their awesome tech that they've built. So Bezel, for those of you that don't know, is the luxury watch marketplace that has been taking over. Anytime anybody really wants to find a watch, Bezel has started to become the unanimous place and destination for people to go find that and find the watches that they want. So Pocket Watch, you and I have been saying Pocket Watch for a while recently. Pocket Watch essentially is kind of like, I'm pocket watching. I'm seeing how much that shirt's worth and, what you got on your wrist. So obviously with the World Cup finale happening and the World Cup just happening over the last 2 months, there's been a lot of cool watches that have been worn by professionals and kind of like celebrities and, guest people within the stands, but also athletes.
Yeah.
So I thought a really cool segment could be, I picked 3 interesting watches that I liked, that I saw these athletes and people wearing. And I was going to flash them all on the screen for producer Pablo to show, and you were going to guess the prices.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore.
Why can't we do that?
I messed it up. I actually, I saw the prices already
because you were looking at my notes.
Yeah, I was looking at your notes. I double checked, but I didn't. Yeah, it was honestly completely my fault.
It's okay.
And then I even tripled down on it. I double checked on Bezel. I was like, there's no way it's worth that much. Then I went on Bezel. I was like, whoa, that's actually insane.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do instead. Instead of me showing you the watch, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the watch, and you're going to rate it 1 through 10, okay? And then I'm going to tell you how much it's worth and who wore it and all that stuff, okay? So,
and I already know how much it's worth.
Okay, so I'm not asking. I was going to ask you that. Now you're going to tell me what you like.
I'm going to tell you. I'll rate it.
In 10 seconds, you have to tell me what you like, what you don't like about it. Would you wear it? Would you not? And rate it 1 through 10.
Okay.
Okay. All right. For the first one, we have the Rolex Daytona Rose Gold Rainbow. Okay. So this was worn by Carlos Alcaraz when Spain beat Argentina in the World Cup finale.
Okay.
And he was flicked up, seen hugging Lamine Yamal, who is obviously the Spain star. So I thought this was super cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how much it's worth.
Okay.
And then you tell me, do you think it's worth that much, and what you like, what you don't like about it.
Yeah.
And rate it. Okay. So it's listed on Bezel for $433,290. Okay. It looks expensive, but I didn't think it was that expensive.
And I think I checked this one already, as we know. I think that's even pre-owned too. Like,
that is pre-owned.
I don't even think you can get this like brand new. Like, it's not selling on Bezel.
Okay, so what do you like? What do you not like about it?
Okay, so I think.
Well, give it a rating first.
Yeah, this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
I think it's a beautiful looking watch. I love the rainbow dial. I also love. I think that's a rose gold Jubilee.
Yeah,
bracelet.
rainbow bezel too.
Yeah, rainbow bezel. The Jubilee bracelet is beautiful. I do think this feels like a one of one. I'm not a watch expert, but I did listen to the Rolex Acquired podcast actually on my drive home from DC to Georgia for July 4th weekend. We actually surprised my dad with a Rolex Submariner for his 60th birthday. And so for context, for those of people who who might not be into watches, a Rolex Submariner, which is like the classic Rolex watch, is 16 grand. This is $433,000. The difference is so significant though, just by looking how beautiful this watch is.
All right, do you like it or not?
I said I give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay, is there anything you don't like about it?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I wouldn't wear something like that because it's super flashy. I'm not like a super flashy watch kind of guy, but
All right, you're more subtle. Okay, all
More
right.
subtle, yeah.
All right, next one. This is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
So Harry Kane, the English football star, was spotted rocking this sleek watch. I think it's sleek, but it was like perfect. It was wearing a black shirt. It was very clean. And people on the internet quickly identified that as the Rolex Day-Date 36 puzzle. And it was like perfect. I love the light colors on there. The dial is very colorful. It was just like the silver bracelet. It was amazing. Okay, but this is how, there was one available on Bezel, and I looked. It's worth $452,400.
That's actually wild.
These footballers are playing. They're just wearing one pieces. It's insane.
Yeah. So here's what I think is really interesting. One, I disagree with Sid. I think the first watch is way better looking than this watch. In my opinion, I would give this a 5 to 6 out of 10. Only reason why is because
Crazy.
your outfit is that watch. Like it makes
That's
sense that
not
why
true.
Harry Kane is just. I would just wear the most basic stuff and then flash on that watch because I think it's so
But
flashy.
sometimes fits require that.
No,
right?
I completely agree.
You wear shoes that are super flashy, but you wear like a generic fit, and vice versa. He was wearing a black shirt, like a pretty plain, you know,
pretty plain, and then that's
that-
and that's
that's
I
the
think is really
flash
clean.
piece.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I think that
that is so
clean.
cool.
I'll give it. I would give it like a 5.5, 6 out of 10.
That is crazy. Okay, all right. This next one, I personally think it's my least favorite out of the three that I chose. But so the PSG and Morocco star Achraf Hakimi was spotted wearing this super loud watch, and he pulled it off somehow because he wore it with like a red fit. It was nice. So he wore a Patek Philippe Aquanaut Luce rainbow chronograph. I was going on Bezel for $393,895. All of these watches are like $400,000. Clearly out of my price range, but I think it's interesting. Would you rock that? It has the
I
rainbow
would
bezel.
rock the hell out of that.
I completely disagree.
I think that's clean.
No,
I think that's
that
clean.
is way too loud. It's the silver brace or the red bracelet's too much.
But the
rainbow
red
the rainbow bezel is
bracelet
clean.
is a lot, but the bezel is very, very clean. I think the dial is actually not that. It's pretty subtle as well. I love that watch. I think it looks really clean.
All right,
I got to give that a 9.5 out of 10.
all right. Well,
And it was how much did you say it was?
$393,895.
So here's what I think we should do next time. There's a thing called provenance, where if the watch's price increases based on who wore it. So the Harry Kane's watch is what, $450,000 is going on Bezel?
Yeah.
I wonder what Harry Kane's version of that watch.
He's just
goes
never
for.
given it up.
Maybe he does. Who knows? It could. What if that?
Well, you're clearly not buying it. You rated that.
I wouldn't buy it. Obviously, if I had all the money in the world, I don't think.
That is so crazy. That's such a cool watch.
Nah,
I
give
think
me
it's the
that
best
AP
out of the
Royal
three.
Oak and we'll call it a day.
All right, moving on to our next section within the world of team and league news. This one's pretty interesting. So we're going to rapid fire this one, okay? So the New York Yankees, the most valuable franchise in baseball, is striking a deal with global private equity giant Apollo Sports Capital, and they're looking at a financing package between $2 to $3 billion. So it's a combination of debt and equity, with the investment going into the parent company called Yankee Global Enterprises. So YGE, as they say, has a pretty interesting portfolio that they already own. So they own 10% of Serie A's AC Milan. They own 10% of the MLS's New York City FC, about 16% of hospitality's company Legends, and 26% of regional sports company and sports network, Yes Network. So the fund would partially refinance existing debt, and with the equity component directly directed towards buying out some existing limited partners. I think it's interesting. For context, the MLB rules prohibit PE firms from becoming majority owners, with a single fund permitted to own as much as 15%, and no franchise can sell more than 30% of its equity to private equity.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing about this. Apollo, they've made their name and made their money from private credit.
Yep.
I think that they've seen Apollo Sports Capital literally dropped a report where there's a $2.5 trillion market opportunity, and a lot of it comes
In
from
sports,
and a lot of it comes from leveraging in the sports space. There's not enough debt, and you can make a lot of money by putting more debt into sports teams. Obviously, that can go wrong, as we see a lot in European football. But if there's an opportunity for them to finance debt in the sports space, they're going to do it.
yeah. I mean, they announced a $5 billion fund for Apollo Sports Capital last year, I believe. They've done some interesting deals in Atletico de Madrid. Pickleball
Pickleball
Inc. They
Inc., yeah.
they rolled up the entire pickleball industry. So some people call it. They've invested in the things like Madrid Open, Miami Open, partnership with Ari Emanuel. So
They have one of my favorite investing strategies. Opportunistic,
Yeah.
and they're able to do a hybrid from not only equity but also debt as well. As a finance graduate.
yeah. So
I love it.
I'm super excited. I think this is really cool.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. President of FIFA Gianni Infantino announced that the World Cup has brought in $15 billion in revenue, beating projections of $11 billion, making it the most lucrative sports event in history. So the Guardian's saying the sources of the drivers are ticketing and hospitality, largely sold in the secondary market, which FIFA takes 15% from both the buyer and the sellers on the resale market. So there was a lot. Just for some more context, Spain won, beat Argentina 1-0. I personally thought it was a boring game, but
Such a boring game.
But producer Pablo is a big Messi fan, and I got to prove him right, even though as someone not as entrenched within the soccer ecosphere as he is. So it was good to be right against him. Spain won $51 million for winning the whole thing, and then the runner-up, Argentina, won $34 million, and about $871 million was awarded to the 48 teams, which is super interesting. And here's the exciting part, right? So Fox paid $485 million for the TV rights for FIFA, and 2030 rights are already kicking off. The process is already starting. Supposedly Netflix, Disney, YouTube are all interested in challenging it. And they're budgeting that the media rights are going to go from anywhere from $1.5 billion to $2 billion. And the starting bids will probably start around $1 billion. That's already 100% jump. This is
Already
like
100% jump, and Fox got
ridiculous.
all the awards because they got it in North America, which is literally prime time.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, I think Fox should just bow out. Like, hey, we just made all the money we possibly can.
We don't
from
need to do it
FIFA. We don't
again.
need to do it again.
Yeah, fair. Super interesting. All right, so do you know you've heard of SoftBank, right?
Of course.
Okay, so SoftBank, for those of you that don't know, is this technology investment company based out of Japan. They're led by this super visionary and out there billionaire called Masayoshi Son, and they've invested in a couple incredible companies. And he has a bunch of interesting stories. He's very
He goes by
animated.
Masa by short.
Masa, yeah. So they bought a Japanese baseball team in 2005 for $195 million when the old owner was drowning in debt. And now the Fukuoka, we have to get that checked, producer Pablo, but the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks just posted $340 million in revenue, putting them ahead of 12 MLB teams. That's like shocking. A team, I guess I know the Japanese baseball market is booming,
It's
but
pretty big.
the fact that it's above 12 MLB teams is wild.
Yeah. I mean, so tell me how are they making their money?
So-
What's popping about it?
Yeah, so the operating profit grew about 24% year over year to $53 million. They actually don't play in a league with any national media engine or no revenue sharing or billion-dollar TV deals. 40% of the companies or the team's revenue comes from ticket sales, premium seating, merch, food and beverage, and about a third from sponsorship and advertising. So and also 20% that comes from concerts. So they do have the strategy of year-round programming, which I think is interesting. So they had nearly 3 million fans last year come to their games, plus another 1.5 million at other events at Mizuho PayPay Dome during their fiscal year. And they have around 880,000 paying members with a standard membership starting at $25 per year. So assuming you're able to pay it's a subscription to attend these games,
Which is sick.
Yeah.
I actually think that I feel like more American sports teams should be doing some sort of paid membership other than season passes, right? Like I feel like, it's like I get season tickets, but that's about it. What about like the regular fan who just like wants to pay? They're willing to pay a premium price to go to all the games, but not get priced out for things like season tickets. Honestly, could be a really interesting strategy. The second thing is, you don't need to have that much broadcasting revenue, I guess, if you want to have extremely profitable sports team. So that's actually big for emerging leagues, emerging teams, even women's sports where the broadcasting deals aren't as big. They can still be very profitable long term.
Yeah. Pau Gasol, the two-time NBA champ, and Spanish basketball royalty,
A legend.
just became one of the biggest investors in women's soccer history. So his investment firm, Gasol 16 Ventures, is investing roughly $63 million into Liga F, which is Spain's top women's league. So Gasol 16 Ventures is supported by Fortified Ventures and acquiring between 35 to 49% of future commercial revenue generated by Liga F clubs for 25 years, ending in 2050 and 2051. Wow. So basically, he's betting on the fact that, you know, Liga F and women's soccer is just going to continue to explode, and the commercial rights around it will keep going. Some teams like Real Madrid that are, you know, above this league, you know, kind of the top of this, you know, standings, they're opting out because they think it undervalues their commercial rights compared to some of the lower, you know, revenue generating teams.
Which makes sense.
I mean, yeah. So we'll see how it checks out, but it's really cool to see that Pau Gasol is
He's making
in the
moves.
investment world.
He's making moves, baby. Let's go.
Making moves. Okay, so moving into the world of sports real estate, we'll quickly get to this, but sports real estate just keeps getting hotter. I don't know what else to tell you. It just keeps it's on fire.
It can't cool down.
It can't cool down.
It's just too important now.
So hence why we have a segment on the show. But Saudi Arabia is building stadiums faster than anyone in human history. 15 venues for the 2034 World Cup, plus arenas, plus F1 tracks, plus concert venues and festival grounds. So Surge Sports, the PIF's public investment fund sports arm, just launched a joint venture called Radia with Live Nation and Oakview Group. So they announced the launch of Radia, which is basically is to support the growth of sports and infrastructure across Saudi Arabia through venue management, commercialization, monetization, operations, you name it. And it just makes a bunch of sense. Saudi Arabia's sports sector is forecasted to reach $22 billion by 2030. I mean, they've also been super active with investments here, you know, in the States. I think it's incredible. But here's the thing that I'm interested in, right? So the business model insight is that stadiums are actually terrible business models because they aren't used a bunch, right? And traditionally, they're only played when they're only used when their games are being played, which is not year-round.
Very capital intensive, high maintenance costs, and if you're not able to use the event that much or the stadium for many events throughout the year, then you're just paying for it without any real revenue that's being gained from it.
Exactly. So what they're doing is they plan to lean in heavily into the concert side, right, and the entertainment side, where when there's not games being played within these venues, concerts are going to fill it, and there's going to be entertainment. And we saw this with Arctos doing this at college campuses with University of Tennessee, right? There's
the Battery is really
great with
their Country Music Fest.
Atlanta Braves, exactly, PBR and Professional Bull Riders and college campuses, right? They're doing this. So this is, I think we're just going to start seeing this across the board, where stadiums and venues are just going to, when sports teams are not being played, there's going to be concerts.
Yeah, I mean, I think this makes sense for Saudi Arabia because they've invested so much capital into building out sports venues and real estate because they're gearing up for a 2034 World Cup, I believe. At some point in time, they're going to host the Olympics, right? At the same time, they've doubled down in hosting F1. And so there's a bunch of real estate here, but now you need to monetize it. Having a partner like Live Nation who knows how to put on great entertainment experiences in these venues, that's a perfect collaboration, in my opinion. And I think what Saudi Arabia is positioning themselves in the sports space is, hey, we're done really investing in sports outside of Saudi Arabia. Let's bring it here within the country, and at the same time boost tourism by having some of the best artists and sports being hosted in Saudi Arabia and bring a lot of international tourism in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be super interesting. So we'll have to make a trip out there and do some on the ground. An on the ground show would be cool.
2034 World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I got a grizzly beard by then, but we'll see.
Well, we also, not to stay on this too long, but we also covered this last week, right? So Atletico Madrid is looking at...
Yeah, they have a partnership with Live Nation.
Live Nation to bring in concerts year round. So
yeah, they're a pretty strong strategic partner here. And I think it could get relatively competitive, so I think it makes sense for Live Nation to rack up these deals fast.
Bullish on Live Nation because I don't see anybody else like that are making the headlines.
They also just don't have, no one else has the scale that they have.
Yeah, the production capabilities and all that. Okay, well, great. Moving on to the world of M&A and major investments. This one's an interesting one for you, and surprisingly, we're staying in this beverage sector. We talked about last week, Nutrabolt that was going to IPO.
I feel like beverages and athletes go hand in hand.
Okay, well,
that's why.
I mean, you couldn't be more right. David Beckham supplement brand, IM8, just locked in $1 billion in financing from the Silicon Valley juggernaut General Catalyst. They're a legendary firm there.
A legend.
But here's the thing. It's not a typical raise, okay? So it's no equity, no board seats, no dilution. General Catalyst is literally fronting up to 70% of IM8's ad budget and getting paid back out of the customers that it brings in. So it's a new strategy from a fund called General Catalyst Customer Value Fund. So Prenetics Global Limited, which is the parent company of IM8, announced the closing of this $1 billion in growth financing. And this is how it's structured. It's pretty interesting. So CVF, which is the Customer Value Fund, is financing up to 70% of IM8's marketing spend on a monthly cohort basis. And General Catalyst receives back a monetary amount that's capped at something called reference income, where it's the amount of what customers pay times a assumed gross margin. So they take a margin, they take a bit of the margin and they get paid back through that. So it's kind of like in a sense, you can think about it as kind of like a loan.
Yeah. It's a loan where the financing goes directly into customer acquisition, and then there's some sort of revenue share where you make money from all the customers who are buying IM8. You make up all your principal, so you make that $1 billion, and some, because there's probably some deal that they have. Maybe there's like a 7-8% return that they're expecting. And boom, that's your, the value that you got from General Catalyst perspective. For IM8, they're on a massive growth trajectory. You had some awesome numbers to run down, but I believe they're at what, $300 million in ARR, and they're expecting $400 million because it's a subscription-based service. So you're getting all these supplements month by month.
Yep.
David Beckham is coming to your house, hand delivering it. No, I'm joking. But David Beckham is super, super involved in this entire company, this process. He is basically the brand. And what I love is that he's also bringing in other athletes as well. Ariana Sabalenka, who's the #1 women's tennis player in the world, is a massive ambassador for IM8, along with Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. And so athletes are a great form of distribution, especially for a supplements company like IM8. I think that this strategy will continue to work. Another cool thing that I saw is that they're AI native. And I was looking at this, I was looking at IM8. They basically have built out like a bunch of like these different like websites that says, oh, like, do you need like immunity strength or like recovery boost? Like if I looked up recovery boost supplement, IM8's going to pop up. If I'm saying, hey, I need a better longevity protocol through a supplement, IM8 pops up.
It's a blended powder supplement, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's how
but like they're using AI to prop up all these different websites.
Very cool.
They're also like based on the customer that's on the website, they have like a specific discount for you. It's like they're very technologically savy. So it's pretty
Should we
cool.
try to get IM8 as a sponsor?
I think IM8 would be a great sponsor for this. I'm also looking for a new supplement brand. So I've been, my supplements are too disaggregated. I'm getting too many things separately. IM8, apparently you just have this one powder and it has everything that you need, including like selenium and stuff. I heard that's like really good for you.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
I have to tap in more. I have to do a little bit more research, but they're on a massive growth curve and they're crushing it.
That's incredible. Shout out to the team there. Moving on to our new section, new fund alert. Producer Pablo, we're going to...
Fund alert.
Producer Pablo, we're going to have to hit it twice, actually. Okay, we're going to have to.
Fund alert.
Because we had 2 this week, new fund alert. So the first up, we have the Lawn Tennis Association. Well, before I even go into it, can we just pause and say this is 18 straight weeks of new sports funds announced. 18 straight weeks.
18.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
And it's 2 of them.
And we have 2 of them this week. So first up, we have Lawn Tennis Association. They're the national governing body of tennis in Great Britain. And they struck a strategic partnership with tennis legend Andy Murray's fund called Red Rice Ventures to identify and invest in tech firms advancing UK racket sports. So Red Rice sources high growth opportunities, and the LTA co-invests in select deals focusing on sports tech, AI, performance, analytics, smart courts, digital coaching,
Another one.
fan engagement, sports nutrition, you name it. So it's very interesting. And the portfolio companies get access to LTA's network of clubs, coaches, and facilities as test beds for these companies and products. So it makes sense, very synergistic. And then the next company that we have, the next fund, Advance Capital, a European sports investment platform, raised 60 million euros or nearly $69 million to buy and grow undervalued sports assets. They own a couple of different assets already, including Levels Fight League, Padel Copa, Queen and League of the Court, and Estrella Football Club. Producer Pablo, do you know Estrella Football Club?
No, I never heard.
Okay, well, they own them. So, yeah.
Small assets, but hey, maybe there's huge growth potential with these.
And I think they plan to target a bigger fund. So we're excited to see what they do. And the space just keeps going on fire. All right, moving on to our emerging league section. Give us a quick rundown because we're approaching time here.
I got a quick rundown. Pretty cool. The F1 for horse racing is about to be set to hit the track on the heels of the Kentucky Derby. Former Liberty Media CEO Greg Maffei and Skylark CEO are launching the Horse Racing League, a team-based league designed to bring season-long continuity to horse racing. So you know how there's only one Kentucky Derby? Now there's going to be a season-long of a lot of Kentucky Derbies. The first season will debut in February 2027 with 10 teams, a live horse draft, 10 million plus in annual purses/prizes, and the races across the best tracks in LA, Miami, and Lexington. Obviously, Lexington, Kentucky, they have some of the best horse tracks in the world. For context, Greg Maffei was actually the man who led Liberty Media's acquisition of Formula One back in 2017 and led the transformation into one of the world's most valuable and culturally relevant sports properties that it is today. And what he's doing is he's applying the same F1 style playbook in the world of horse racing. So expect elevated race day experiences, premium events, always-on storytelling, celebrity and brand-owned teams, and partnerships with the most respected thoroughbred organizations in the world, horse organizations. And the three founding teams are some of the best teams in horse racing. Godolphin, which is the winner of the 2025 Kentucky Derby, Windstar, who is actually 2018's Triple Crown winner, and a consortium, I don't think there's a name yet, led by Vinny Viola, who's actually the Florida Panthers owner. And
Wow.
they've won 2 Kentucky Derbies. So I think this is really interesting. Greg Maffei seems like he's the perfect man for the job. The Drive to Survive playbook, I think, can be applied to horse racing, given there's this, honestly, really interesting ambiance around horse racing. I feel like Kentucky Derby does captivate the sports zeitgeist. And I feel like if you're able to bring that season long and also bring that elevated element that, the Kentucky Derby has, it's very lavish and expensive, the same thing that F1 has, and you provide some storytelling around these horses and the competitive nature between these teams, I think you could have a quite very successful league here. So pretty excited for this. Shout out to Greg and the team. We're excited to see what Horse Racing League does.
Yeah, super excited. It makes a bunch of sense. High ticket audience, affluent audience, and big growth potential.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Okay, moving on to our industry spotlight very quickly. I have to spotlight the Fanatics events team and the man in charge, Lance Fensterman, the CEO of Fanatics Events. So I didn't work with the events team or Lance directly when I was at Fanatics, but I have built a growing relationship with Lance, and he's a big believer and early supporter of the fourth quarter. So for those of you that don't know Lance, his background is he's been in events. Events is his thing. It makes perfect sense why Fanatics Fest has turned into the spectacle that it was this year. So he founded Reed Exhibition's pop culture division and served as the president of Reed Pop, where he built New York's Comic-Con and Star Wars celebrations. So he now can prove out that sports festivals are a need and the right way to do it, and also a big revenue driver. So this year there was 200,000 fans supposedly, and over 400 athletes, and had $80 to $90 million in production budget. And Michael Rubin said, the CEO of Fanatics as a whole, said that Fanatics Fest this year will be profitable, which is wild. It used to be like a loss leader, but focused on brand building. So specifically 3 years ago, they lost $15 million. This year, it basically took over the cultural zeitgeist within sports. They had the FIFA World Cup finale presser at Fanatics Fest. They had all these athletes, celebrities. It was, everyone on the internet was talking about it.
Yeah.
And I tweeted about it when I worked it the last couple of years. and there wasn't any discourse. So it's crazy to see it. And shout out to Lance. Need to have you on the show, and we're big fans. And also, we got it. Our goal should be to have a show, a live show,
yeah,
at next year's Fanatics Fest with a big guest.
I think it makes complete sense. We can talk about the business behind Fanatics Fest because it is big business now, and I think there's so much opportunity for scale. I bet the Fanatics team and the C-suite is already talking about the big opportunities that Fanatics Fest this year has presented to them. I think the experiential in sports could be a massive home run. It was a massive home run here. So, Lance, great job. Shout out to the Fanatics team. That was one of the sickest events I've ever been to, and you honestly made so many kids' days, or honestly
Marks on their lives.
Yeah, marks on their lives. I mean, these kids, I mean, I just saw them running around with their little passport book and trying to see every single sporting, every
Collect
single celebrity,
all of the stamps
go
stickers
see every single sports league. It was unbelievable. They're fans. They're going to be Fanatics fans for life. So great job, you guys.
Yeah, and shout out to our friend Drew Schiffer as well for being a big supporter and good friend of ours. So moving on to the world of collectibles, look, we have all these stats of like all these crazy things that, Cooper Flag basically had a $5 million card that is now going to be distributed, that was made and presented within Fanatics Fest. That's going to be presented in a 2026 Topps Chrome update basketball pack. And it's basically his one-of-one rookie debut patch autograph card at the Topps booth. Speaking of which, I only think it makes sense for our collectible section to be the pack opening of a Cooper Flag Topps pack. You got it, Sraj. So I feel like you should be the man. You need to show it into the camera though.
It's a lot of cards, so we're gonna do the first 5.
Are we gonna split it?
You want to split it?
Yeah, let's split it.
Let's do it. All right, ready? When you get a sick card, then show it here.
Okay. Well, you took most of them. Okay.
Here.
Okay. We got Isaiah Collier.
I got Tracy here.
Oh, we got a backwards one.
Is that sick?
Oh, OG Anunoby. That's a cool
wait,
one.
that's actually a sick
That's
card.
hard.
That's sick.
That's really
Okay.
cool. Okay.
We got Isaiah Thomas here.
I'm saving that one.
Igor Demon.
Derek Jones. Dude, I got a Tracy McGrady card.
Let's go.
Yo.
Wait,
that's
what's
really
that?
cool.
What's that one? Generation Now. You see that? The next one?
Oh, yeah. What's this?
We got Desmond Bain here.
Will Riley. Oh, I got a Draymond Green. That's a cool one. Jared McCain. Shout out Jared McCain. Shout out.
Shout out Ace Bailey.
Yeah, that's your favorite player, right? Jared McCain.
Jared McCain.
Al Filipowski. That's a Duke legend.
Jameer
Zaire
Williams.
Williams.
Oh, we got Magic Johnson here. Let's
Kason
go.
Wallace. Oh,
Peyton
cool.
Watson. AJ Green.
a Pelicans pair.
It's a bonus.
Oh, Peyton Pritchard. This is a cool one.
Oh, that's a sick one.
That's cool. Rob Dillingham.
Yo, I got the best card.
What'd
Ben
you get?
Simmons. I got a Ben Simmons card. Let's go. And then I got Paul George as well. Let's go.
Campaign.
Paul George,
and
the
D-Book.
new face of the Celtics. That's hype.
Gary Trent Jr. Oh, we got Anthony Davis. All right. Now these two are clearly the best. We got an OG.
Yeah.
This card is sick.
That card is sick. We should see how much that's going for. That actually could be
and then
something.
8-bit baller Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, I got a Magic Johnson one. So let's we gotta sleeve. Remember to sleeve them up.
We gotta sleeve these up.
sleeve them up. I'm so new to this. This is like my 4th pack that I've ever opened. So,
All right.
but
amazing.
they're actually pretty fun. I get why people spend so much money, ripping packs. But do it physically.
okay.
It's way better of an experience I
Then
feel like,
then digitally.
than digitally.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to our last and final section, I'll help clean up the cards. But you got to Professor Paramanu. I feel like you have to get into this here.
Oh,
and
let's go.
Give us a quick rundown of the latest in prediction markets that we should know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, you guys, we're back. It's another week of AP prediction markets with Professor Paramanu, and this time it's special because it's presented by Novig,
Presented by Novig, baby.
the
okay.
first ever national prediction market dedicated to the sports world and built around their sports trader. I feel like they needed that platform that's specific to what the sports experience or what the trading experience in sports wants, and Novig is building that. They just got CFTC approved, so their prediction market will be coming out pretty soon. So
Okay.
stay tuned for that.
Exciting.
Me and Sid will be, as we become experts in sports trading, I think that will be our platform of choice.
Okay.
Very much so. But this week, it's going to be something that we've talked about before, but I feel like there's some really interesting applications, and it's hedging and using prediction markets.
Okay, tell me more, Professor.
So hedging was actually recently popularized during the Knicks run. In the finals, there was the Jeffries. It was a bar out in New York City that was actually hedging the Knicks winning a finals game to offset free drinks promotion. So essentially, they would say if the Knicks win, it's free drinks for everyone, but they would make a prediction market trade on a Kalshi or a Polymarket and soon to be a Novig, saying the Knicks will win, and so it would offset the cost of the free drinks promotion.
Interesting.
At the same time, the marketing stunt was so big that there was literally a line right outside the door. So it's basically a win-win situation, and it's protecting the bet that you're making through a hedge, which is what prediction markets can actually be used for in the sports space. It recently became popular again because a California ice cream store actually found that profits declined by 20% when it's a cold or rainy day, and a cold day meaning it's less than 70 degrees. And so what they started doing was predicting cold days using prediction markets and making trades
that's smart.
there. And so if it was a cold day, yes, they lose profits on their ice cream store, but they're already expecting that. But if it is a cold day, they're making money using prediction markets. And actually, they said that they were making $20. They were betting $20 a day, so $600 a month. And I believe they were making $1,500 a month on these trades, and like essentially through this hedge, which was about 40% of their rent for the store.
Wow.
So it's actually a huge win for them. And then I was thinking, wait, we've actually wrote about this before. Could this hedging principle be applied to sports teams? And actually, there's a really cool company that I want to shout out here called Game Point Capital.
Okay.
And what they're doing is they're essentially building out insurance solutions for sports teams based through hedging risk.
Okay.
And they're actually now using prediction markets to protect on some of these performance bonuses. So, for example, if you're a sports team and you have a superstar player and they have a massive contract where if you guys make the playoffs, they'll make $2-3 million. Okay. Now that's going to hit your bottom line because you're paying your player more money, which is good. It's a very strong incentive. But what if you could protect on that downside risk by making a trade on a prediction market saying, hey, we're going to make a playoff berth. If we make that playoff berth, okay, yes, we pay our superstar player an extra $2-3 million. But at the exact same time, we make a win on that hedge. So it actually offsets your risk. And so what we're seeing is Game Point Capital has actually done this for 2 NBA teams, one for a playoff berth and one for a second round prediction. And actually, you could do some of this trading on OTC markets. There's some like specialized sports specific over-the-counter markets that you can use. But prediction markets are actually priced way lower than the trades that are being made on OTC. I believe it's like more than half. So like it'll be like a 6% cost on prediction markets for one of the trades, but on OTC, it's like 12 to 13%. So I actually think that there's a really powerful use case where sports teams could now be using prediction markets infrastructure to hedge risks. Obviously, you want to make sure it's in the bounds of CBAs and, the regulations. Game Point Capital is very focused on that, and they're, building out partnerships with prediction markets to do so. But I do think that this will be an amazing solution that sports teams will be using long term. And I'm excited to see what that innovation looks like.
Very exciting.
What do you think? Do you think Game Point Capital, do you think this is an interesting move?
This is super interesting. We've talked about this a bunch off camera. I think it's awesome. I think now that Novig is getting into the, CFTC license approved, is getting into the prediction market space, I think it'll be another platform for companies like this or people that want to just hedge in general can use to hedge in sports. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens legislation-wise, to see like long-term is this allowed, maybe even through the next, the next administration. Like, will they allow this? How are they going to,
Yeah.
what will the landscape be? But
sports is a $2.5 trillion market. Don't they deserve some hedging solutions?
they do.
That's going to be the question. There's a lot of value that runs. Look at the MSG, look at MSG Sports. Their stock price skyrocketed when the Knicks were, making it to the finals and won the finals, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of value creation in the public markets. That there are some hedging solutions for other, public stocks and public companies, but it's really not the case for sports. And I think prediction markets will provide that infrastructure.
Completely agree. Great breakdown.
I appreciate that.
Professor Paramanu.
I made it brief because This was a jam-packed
It was a jam-packed episode, and we're on a time crunch here.
with Fanatics Fest and everything.
Well, thank you for tuning in if you made it this far. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. I keep saying this at the end. It should be at the beginning, but thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.